Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 PGA Championship at Southern Hills. And this is my Before the Lock show where I am going to be covering ownership projections. There's some weather. We got AM, PM splits. We've got pressers to cover. We've got locals. We've got the guys that play good and win. There's so much information that I need to get through for you guys before you lock in those final DFS lineups for the Millie Maker or even for maybe it's head-to-head, whatever you're doing, cash game. And then maybe you might, there's also some final bet stuff that you're going to want to check out. So with that said, first off and foremost, thank you for stopping by. Give me about 45 minutes. I'll get you through all this information. And with that said, let's talk a little golf. All right, so real quick, I've got some quick info. I mentioned I've been keeping my eye on everything as maybe you have over the last couple days. And there's some things that have transpired, so I want to update you guys on that. Of course, you know, a lot of conversations around Rory, and why I wanted to bring this up was if you've been checking the betting market, Rory, at least on DraftKings Sportsbook, has risen to the #1 lowest odds or, you know, highest odds to win, however you want to put it. He is currently 12-1. I just thought that was pretty interesting. You know, I think if you've been watching his pressers, and even Brad Faxon was talking about Rory, that he's in a good place. He's been to the course just recently, right? So he actually was going to come a week beforehand and couldn't do it for whatever reason. So he actually looked at, funny enough, that Friday video I was telling you guys to check out. So he did some, I don't know, we'll say what I do, some knowledge online of finding anything he could out about the course. There was also some flyovers he looked at. And they referenced that when he won the PGA, I think they talked about the PGA twice. When he won at Valhalla and Kiowa, he did not really practice at all or get to come out and do the pre-practice rounds. And so I guess maybe that's a little bit. But also the conversations when Rory's, you know, typically brought up in a presser when it gets to these majors is what I'm showing here is about this, you know, his round 1 performance versus the next 3 rounds where he typically kind of shoots himself out. And so this is looking at since the past 2014 PGA Championship when he won, he hasn't had a good first round, the simplest way to put it. Now, is it mental? Is it just AM, PM splits, bad draws, you know, whatever. But we have seen it. The one that just comes to my mind was when our friend Shane Lowry won at Royal Portrush, I believe that is. And he hooked off the first tee, hooked it out of bounds, and took a big number on the first hole. And of course, you know, him being also from Ireland, that, you know, it meant a lot for him to win that British Open or the Open. So with that said, I just thought it was interesting more from the betting perspective that he is. So if you got him at, you know, I don't know what he was at, 18-1 or whatever his odds were, you did good. Also on that note, our buddy Brooks Koepka, he had a presser and nothing, you know, I'll kind of summarize the pressers on my next thing. But what I thought was interesting was that his odds has actually increased. He's at now 55-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Of course, he's won back-to-back PGA Championships. You know, goes back to the saying of big game hunter, even though we haven't seen that recently. I mean, the last time we saw him almost win was last year when he had a chance to beat Phil Mickelson at the PGA, him and Louis. And I'm just kind of shocked that he's 55-1. You know, he decided not to play last week at the Craig Ranch for the AT&T Byron Nelson, purely, I'm sure, just to kind of maybe work on a few things. Also, he's stated many times that he does not like a scoring fest, kind of like Rahm. He wants it to be more challenging. That's where his skill set comes out. On that note, let's talk a little bit about the course. I've been pretty dead on from the things that I mentioned already in my first show on the preview. It's going to, I believe, still, a lot of it's going to come down to how you do around the greens, the putting. That's going to be a big factor. But also, what the guys have stated, and this has taken a mix of feedback from Tiger Woods and Rory and JT and all the guys that have done pressers, that the fairways are actually wider than what they look like if you look at it online. So it's generous fairways. But if you do get in that Bermuda rough, as I kind of mentioned, depending on the lie, it could be penal. I mean, there could be where you have an easy shot out if you can get to the back of the ball, or it could be where it might be a little difficult. So you're going to want to keep it, you know, so I'm not saying there's some analysts I've seen out there that are putting a lot on this off the tee. Now, we've got a whole win thing to discuss. I'm looking for guys, yes, I want guys to put it in the fairway. You're going to need to be in the fairway, smaller targets, and you're going to need to hit these greens. I'm still kind of working my way back. I think if I had to sit there and say, do I want guys that are, can hit the ball a long way? Or do I want guys that have a really good short game? I'm falling into the camp of short game. So, anyways, I did bet on Brooks at 55-1. That's a ton of win equity. Even though we haven't seen a ton since he won at the Waste Management, but we did see, like I said, he had a shot to win last year. Just, his putting was a bit off. And I think he even mentioned that's what he's been working on. So he gets that putter going. Watch out. All right. Last thing I'll talk about from a presser side was Collin Morikawa. And why I bring this up is what Collin announced. And, if you want to go check it out yourself, I highly recommend it. Remember, just YouTube 10 Golf. And they've got all the pressers. That's what I use. He's actually changed just a little thing. So he actually said he's going to be putting a line on his golf ball for putting. That when he was working with when he was playing with Victor Hovland at the Zurich, that they were having a tough time making putts. So he tried it and he kind of liked it. He's going to put it into play and trust it. But for me, if we think about when he changed the saw grip, now that's a total different thing than putting a mark on your ball or a line on your ball versus how you grip a club. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if that's what I would be doing in my first, in a major. So I was already a little bit off Morikawa. I'm going even a little more off with making that change. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That was probably the key things that I took, of course, I wanted to get the feedback from the players on what they were seeing on the course. That was good, and everything kind of baked out for what I was seeing. And then the one thing that I thought was the most significant was that Morikawa is going to put a line on his ball and using that for the tournament. Okay, let's talk about a few guys. So I pulled this from the Golf Channel. You might have already seen it, but just for the folks that might have not have had a chance to watch all the coverage I've been watching, there's some guys here that, of course, have some course knowledge. We already know, or if you might know, is Scotty Scheffler, of course, has played a lot of amateur events here. I don't remember off the number ahead of how many times he's played the event prior to the renovation versus after. He loves the course, that was stated, but he even kind of mentioned in his presser, he's not sure when he said that. It's one of his top courses he likes. It's not his favorite, but yeah, he's got some history here. Of course, he's a Texan. It's Oklahoma. There is going to be weather, and again, we'll get into that because it is, I think, going to be pretty important. But just so you know, of course, it kind of states there that he won the 2015 Big 12 Championship there as a freshman at Southern Hills. What does it say there? He reached quarterfinals in a 2013 amateur, and some of these guys, I think even I'm going to talk about, playing that same amateur. So anyways, that's kind of his background. You've also got Victor Hovland, right, who played at Oklahoma State. There's a lot of these guys, the Cowboys, in this field. And he actually still lives in the area. Same thing. I wouldn't say he's played it a ton, but he's played it a bit. He's comfortable with the course. Trying to see here. Posted a second round 66, including an Eagle 5 birdie. So that was during, I'm guessing, the 2018 Big 12 Championship. So you can kind of see how he did. Maybe not struggled, but didn't play the greatest maybe Saturday, Sunday. Held a solo 36-hole lead by one shot. So Victor likes the course, played the course. Of course, he's Oklahoma, could deal with the winds. Also could deal if you're ever thinking of cold conditions. But the only thing that makes me a little nervous about Victor, of course, is the chipping, especially out of sand. And also, of course, the putter. All right, last but not least, I will talk about Taylor Gooch. Again, born and raised, kind of rare. Then went to Oklahoma State. Also, I believe had to play, maybe he did in 2013. I'm just seeing here. No, but he has course history here too. He's a local. Of course, he did not have a good showing at the AT&T Byron Nelson, but also maybe it gave him a little more time to come focus here. So you can look at it as a positive, negative. But anyways, that's the three guys I wanted to highlight for you. Is there other guys? Of course, there's guys that played in the 2007 event. They got guys that have won. So at the last year, the Champions Tour was here. You got Alex Sajek, who actually won that tournament. I'm not going into all that. I mean, even the 2007 guys, you've got like Sink and Garcia, and there's a few of them that played there. I think it's the same routings, but it's quite a bit of different course, even if you heard from Tiger's presser. All right, enough on that. Just give you some background information. All right, let's talk about this weather real quick. And I'll go and I'll show you guys Wind Finder, what you're going to want to pull up, especially if you're doing, as I always mentioned, Showdown. But we definitely got some weather, right? And so I think the most unique is there's going to be a different wind pretty much each day. So the course is going to look a little different each day. That's what they're stating. But the 2 days specifically, it looks well, and it's saying on this. So this was the weather report, just so you know, for the PGA. Gust up to 30, 35, and then it looks like it's going to calm down a little bit on Sunday. But kind of holding steadily around that 15, 20 all 3 days. Last I heard it, Thursday, Friday were the days, but this is stating that it's going to go on Saturday. Of course, you can see there could be a possible chance of thunderstorms. The most thing that I'm concerned about is the wind right now. Okay, so knowing that there's going to be that kind of wind, and it is going to be windy AF, windy as fuck wind, not moderate, when you're getting gusts up to 30, one thing that I want to know is, hey, over the past, recent form, who's done well in windy conditions and against my model? And just a side note, I was going to cover this. I did add a couple things to the model, just so you know. The more information I got, we'll talk about that. But the par threes and the par fives, I think are going to be a factor. And so I added that in, put them at 5% each. And I think I don't know if I took anything off or I turned something down, but neither here or there. So the model's a hair different, but it really didn't change a whole lot. I'll show you the recent form versus what I showed you guys on Monday. Okay, with that said, this is pulling up the past 8 rounds that these guys have played in crazy windy conditions. So that could be going all the way back to like the FedEx Cup. Just so you know, this isn't the last 8 rounds that they played, right? It pulls specifically heavy windy conditions. With that said, funny enough, our boy Sebastian Munoz ranks #1 against my model. Now you're also going to see some tee times here. We're going to talk about the AM splits, but for right now, just focus on the guys' names that have done well. Now, Sungjae Im, which at one time was one of my picks, I did state that I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get back in the country. When I said that, it was due to COVID. Sometimes when I say that word, sometimes my videos get flagged, so I try not to even mention that. But yes, he's pulled out of the tournament due to that. No need to worry about him. Same with Harris English. And with that said, I actually pulled in 2 extra guys for you because those 2 aren't playing. So you're getting, I believe, still like 15, 16 guys. But this list here gives you a good understanding under a recent form who's done well in the wind. I'll go through them real quick. Of course, Munoz, Bradley, no shocker, really good ball striker. Matsuyama, Hoagie, Answer. Corey Connors keeps it in play. JT, of course, at the Players did very well. John Rahm, Adam Scott, it's an Australian. You got Jason Kokrak, Mito Pira, Garcia can play in the wind. Bobby Mack, of course, European. Cantlay just steady. And, of course, Adam Hadwin and DJ. So that's your top, 15, 16 guys recently who's played in windy conditions and come out pretty well against this model. The only filter, just so you guys know, that's put on here is windy AF that you can pull out of Fantasy National. Okay, another thing now, looking at that, and so I went and looked already at Windfinder and how I'm leaning, and we'll go into this to detail, but I want to show you this now while I'm thinking of it, is I believe the AM PM guys are going to have a slight advantage. I don't think it's huge, but I think there is an advantage there from what is showing right now. Again, I'm recording this Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern. So, things could change. But if you want to know who I like that has that AM PM split time, you can see right here. And of course, this is against my model. So you have Xander, Matsuyama, Homa. A lot of guys I've already picked. I didn't pick Mats, but I picked Schauffele, Homa, Young, Munoz. You got Spieth, Hoagie, McIlroy, Chris Kirk. You got Noren, Harmon, Smith, Cam Smith, Victor Hovland, Woodland, Will Z, Tony Finau, Bobby Mack, Mito Pereira, Kevin Streelman, and Kuchar. Those guys came out on top of you can see my ranks. So you're going to see 3, 4, 5, where they ranked in my model that had the early tee times. So if you want to build an AM, PM tee time, you can use those guys right there. So the next thing you would ask, from an AM, PM split, who has done the best in the wind? So this is giving you the top 15 guys, pulling those 8 rounds that have the AM, PM. So what I just showed you, I'm combining it. Who's done the best in windy conditions, and now who's done the best, or who has the best tee times under what I'm seeing. And Munoz, Mats, again, Hoagie, Answer, Pierre, Bobby Mack, Finau, Will Z, Homa, Noren, Kuchar, Kirk, Harmon, Smith, and Si Woo are the top 15 guys that have early tee time splits against my model, and also has done well in windy conditions over their past 8 rounds they've had to play in it. That's a lot said. Hopefully that makes sense, but I think you get the drift. So feel free, if you're so curious, if you want to build an AM PM stack and you want to know who's done well in the wind recently, that's your guys. All right, I finally, through PGA Tour Communications, got a course map. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. We can take a quick look at it. What was more intriguing was I wanted to get their scorecard because I was still looking at information coming from the golf course Southern Hills. But here's the actual scorecard that came from the PGA, which this was what I was waiting for. You can see, like I said, a 470 off the bat. So that 175 to 200 that I use for proximity looks dead on. You got a 500 there. So all I ever do is take 300 off. The average PGA Pro hits it somewhere between 290, 310. And so, that's, what 170 coming in, you got 200 coming in, 172 coming in. Now you got this short par 4. So again, depending on what you decide to hit off the tee, there's that 656 par 5. So that's why I put that in the model. I mean, there are 2 par 5s that you're hoping to make a birdie, are very long. And then these par 3s, there's 3 of them that are pretty hefty, right? 214, 251. You got one that's only at 173. Well, not only, but at 173. And then where's that other one? 230. So that immediately, funny enough, screams out Adam Scott and Billy Horschel. And why I'm thinking of that, I like Adam Scott for a bet. He's 100 to 1. I bet him outright. And also, I'm kind of looking at him from like a top 20 kind of perspective, top 10. Australian can handle the winds. He's been playing better. The putter's been kind of, doing pretty well this year. And when I think of guys that can manage long par 3s, Adam Scott and Billy Horschel are the 2 guys that just pop into my brain. So someone that you might want to consider from a betting perspective. Let's get back into here. So 489, so you got 190. You short one here. 150, 156. I'm just talking about the approach, 117. And then you got here about 220 coming on that 16 par 4. And then 190. So again, the bulk of it, I like that 175 to 200. So just wanted to mention that. All right. I told you guys I'd show you a model. So I made a couple tweaks to the model. I just wanted to throw this up real quick for you guys to have. So if you want to know under my model, who's been playing the best over the past 24 rounds, not too much change, but JT, Schauffele, Mats. I think Homa's interesting. I told you I already bet him. Both Cameron Young and Homa. Homa I got 100 to 1 on a futures bet. Cameron Young was 80 to 1. I believe he's still there. Fitzy, Berger, Neiman, Munoz, Spieth, Lowry, Bradley, Hadwin, Hoagie. Out of these guys, the only guys that I'll probably fade would be Berger. I told you I'm going to plug Neiman in instead of Sungjae M, so that's my swap. And I'm not sold on Adam Hadwin. Did you see 6,300? All the rest of the guys will be in my DFS players that I'll either play heavy or at least sprinkle. Matsuyama maybe not make my core group, but he's going to be used depending on how many builds I do. So with that said, let's go jump into Fantasy National. Let's talk about the cheapies and ownership projections, weather, and then we'll come back. I'll talk one and done. I'll give you my best 5 plays below 7K, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, so I've jumped over into fantasynational.com, and as always, give these guys a look. If you are doing your research on your own, it will make you so much happier than trying to gather data from multiple spots or actually any tool out there. I don't think anybody's better from a golf perspective. So that's my plug. Moving on. All right, so what are we looking at here? The guys I'm going to be picking are 7,000 and below for you. I've got about 15 of them I've identified that I think are pretty good plays down here. Then I'm going to give you my top 5. Then we'll go into ownership projections and then talk a little bit about where you can go to make sure you keep up with the weather. All right, so just so you know, I'm looking at last 24 rounds of data. What does that mean? I'm looking at the last 6 tournaments these guys have played on average. I mean, there could be a couple of miscuts, which, could pull on other data. But on average, all these guys will be the last 6 tournaments. I've got a mini model here that I've created and weighted. And just so you know, ball striking is the heaviest, approach, off the tee, around the green, putting. If you don't know what ball striking is, you can see that combines when you hit your drive and hit your approach together. Because we're not as concerned about a scoring fest here, again, depending on how the weather goes, this could be, I would guess, single digits will be the winner. And if I had to bet on it, I would probably go, I don't know, probably 6 under, something like that, I think could be the winning score. What you're also going to see here is what I said is bogey avoidance, because they're going to need to make pars. Pars are going to be good. It's a major. And also, like I said, with everything, the way the course is set up, with the wind, it's going to be a battle, simplest way to put it. Then you can see recent results over here, and then how have they done in the past PGA championships. Again, remembering that every time they play a PGA Championship, it's pretty much a different course over the last few years. I mean, they of course play, like they play Kiowa twice pretty within, I don't know what, 10 years. So, and of course they played here back in 2007 without the renovation. All right. Anyways, let's move on through this. All right. So the guy I just wanted to mention to you is Tom Hoagie. He's $100 over the min that I was talking about, but I think he's a really solid play, right? I mean, also has ties, I believe, to University of Texas, right? So he can handle the wind. Also, all these guys, I believe, have an AM tee time, because I kind of was like, you know what, I want to kind of focus the guys that can handle the wind, the guys that might have an advantage. When you're looking at guys below, we got to look for every little advantage to get them to make the cut, and that's what we're looking at here. So I've kind of got an eye on the guys that can handle the wind and also can also have that AM PM, which I think is going to be an advantage. All right, so all I was getting to is Tom Hoagie. We'll click on him for you, even though he is not going to make my final, but let's just go take a real quick look at him. Hits it about, as I said, 290, 300, pretty accurate off the tee. What he does very well, or was doing very well, was the 175 to 200. He led the PGA for a while in that proximity to a pin from 175 to 200. So he hits that really well. It's funny, I just noticed that for some reason here it says he does not do well in wind over the last 12 months, but I think he's been playing a lot better golf. Let's go back on Tom Hoagie. Sorry about that. Let's go look at his putting split. So that's where he typically has his issues. You see is with the putter. Everything else, really good ball striker. He's been playing good golf, like I said. I mean, he had that second at the Amex to RSM. He was kind of showing us that he wanted to win. I mean, it was either a miscut. It was a good bet. I did not bet it, so I missed the hoaxer, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I've been playing really good golf. No reason not to play him if you're down here. He's not going to make my top 5, but I've given him honorable mention. So the first guy that I'm landing on that I want to play is Alex Noren. You can see he ticks my model pretty good. He can also is avoiding. He's made the last 5 cuts. He's got a T12, a couple T12s, a T5, and he's also done okay at the PGA Championship, made 4 out of the last 5 cuts. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. Let's look at the stroke gain stuff. Let's look at recent form. Let's look at, how do you do in majors? All that added up, for 7,000, it looks like a pretty good play, right? You can see he can also handle himself in the win. Of course, he's European. I remember if he comes from Ireland or Scotland. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he is Euro. His best putting surface is bent. So you kind of got the double whammy there. He's also got the AM/PM split. And let's just take a look. There's Torrey Pines where they play the Farmers. He can handle big boy courses. The 3M Open, which I mentioned, is not a terrible comp. It's bent greens, ton of water, par 71. Honda, I think, is a great comparable. So yeah, so many things to like about Alex Noren. I don't know. Right now, it's saying he's 11% projected ownership, so he's going to be a bit chalky. But if you're down in this area, I highly would recommend playing Mr. Noren. Bobby Mack, all good, man. I think we know he can handle himself in the big tournaments. What we've seen of him, right? I mean, we've seen the Genesis, the Valero, and the Masters. He's done very well. You can see under that time bogey avoidance, but he plays a lot on the DP World Tour, so we don't get a ton of him. Just the putter, you can see, could be the issue. But I also really like Bobby Mack. Of course, I'm going to mention Ryan Palmer, right? He just had that T5. Looks like he said his game is in a better place. It's always going to be the putter. Can he get hot enough? But he can handle the wind. You can see from the modeling perspective, even though he hasn't finished that great this year, he's still striking the ball very well, just not scoring. So I have no issues playing Ryan Palmer. Chris Kirk, I really like too. Let's go take a quick look at him. So again, very accurate off tee, hits at about 300, can handle, moderate windy. Bent is his best putting surface. All this is over the past 12 months. This shows difficult courses, so you might want to check this out too, which I would put this one in that bucket. And lately, it's just been the putter, which is odd because Chris Kirk, at least on Bermuda, was doing very well. And then it's kind of fallen apart since that's Bermuda. That's Bermuda. The Mexico was that past Palm, if I remember correct? So I don't know. He's just ran into some issues with putting. So just note to self. But everything else I think it's a solid play. And you can see right now projected ownership is quite a bit less than my Noren play. Of course, I got to pick my Sebastian Munoz, right? We just saw he almost won the AT&T Byron Nelson. He's been playing good golf. He got a lot of T20s, 30s, for that $6,800 price tag. He's missed a cut though at the last two. Let's go take a look. I want to see what he's done in majors. And we can also click on him. So you can see though, handle himself in the win. He's also got that AMT time. Average courses, he does well. Difficult, okay. But is still positive on most surfaces except POA. And let's just go see what he's done. So the U.S. Open, he's only made the cut once out of 3. The PGA's missed a cut both times, which we just saw. What about the Masters? Played it twice, has made the cut both times there. And if I had to pick, but we don't know. I can't compare all the courses, but Augusta would not be a bad comparable for here. Let me look at the Masters again. Yeah, 2020 was under really easy, favorable conditions. So I just was taking a look at that. What else would I want to look? The U.S. Oh, the Open. So I think he's only made, 3 cuts out of all the majors. So hasn't done great in the majors, but I still like where his game's at. He's also got a presser out there. It's kind of funny. He hasn't done a ton of prep, but that's just his way. He says he goes into things. So take of that what you will. But if you're looking for an elite kind of ball striker, at least over the last, 6 tournaments, Sebastian Munoz could be your guy. Kevin Streelman, really low projected ownership, but he works out pretty good in the modeling. Bogey avoidance isn't bad. It's kind of been very hit or miss. So he had that good showing at Valspar, not a bad showing at Valero, miscut RBC, which is funny. I think I had to pick him there, and then of course goes in miscuts. Mexico Open, and then the Wells Fargo. But you can see last year at Kiawah had a T8, a T58. So he's made some decent showings for this price tag at the PGA and very low ownership. So if you're looking for a pivot, it could be Kevin Streelman. Funny enough, I never thought I was going to be picking Matt Kuchar for a cheapie play, but a lot of things tell me to play Matt Kuchar here, and I'll talk to him why. So we already know, very good putter. That's what he's done over his last 6 tournaments. Very good. He ranks almost number 1 around the green. You got to remember, off the tee is distance combined with hitting fairways. So what he does is he hits fairways. He just doesn't hit it very far. But I think it's crucial to hit fairways here, so I don't have a problem with that. Pretty good on approach. Ball striking takes in both, and you can see kind of averages out an 89 on that. But you can see he's been playing good golf. He's avoiding bogeys way up there. He made the last 5 cuts. He's got a T12, a T3, a T2. And he's kind of, if he does make the cut, there's, a T9 and a T8. Now, that's a few years ago, but he can handle himself in a major. And I think that if this, was going to be a Craig Ranch, maybe, Kuchar can go low, but I think this could fit him pretty well. You can see he gains on the field in windy conditions, plays difficult courses very well. Good putter across all surfaces. I told you he's very accurate, but not very long. And you got to remember, I was showing you a lot of the other guys, they were around 295. So he's losing 10 yards. If he's hitting the wind, it could be, might be a little bit of a hamper, but been playing good golf. He was stinking it up for a while back here in, I'd say the summer. But since then, I don't have a problem playing him. So I like him from a cheapie play. Davis Riley, he doesn't have any major experience that I know of. But, the guy's been playing pretty solid golf, a T9, a 5th, a 2nd. He's doing all these things very well. Approach is not the best. That's the one hampering issue. But, I don't think he's a terrible play. I'm giving him a mention because I think you could sprinkle him in if you wanted. I think Mito Pereira is probably a really good value, but you can also see the projected ownership is really high on so many fronts, right? He's got the good draw, the AMPM. He's, a lot like Joaquin Niemann, his ball flight. He's a really good ball striker. You see ranks 9th over his last 6 tournaments. You see playing good golf, T27, 13, 26, 17th, and has never played in a PGA before. I think this is actually his first major. I don't know what else he would have played in. Maybe. You see, it shows here at least what data we have. He can handle the wind, can handle difficult to average. The putter's been kind of hit or miss. He had a real nice run right here on a lot of the Bermuda, a couple POAs, and then it kind of fell back, lost 4 strokes. then he gained a little. So, if he puts the putting together with his ball striking, he could be a very solid play. So I like Mito. Cam Davis, throwing him in here. Got the right tee time. He's Australian, right? He had a good showing at the RBC Heritage. Has played a PGA at Kiawah at a 59, so at least he made the cut. I'm going to build some Australian stacks. If you're curious of who are some Australians, if you don't know, right, you've got, of course, Cam Smith, Mark Leishman, Cam Davis, Adam Scott, Matt Jones. Those are kind of off the top of my head are some of the bigger. Oh, and Lucas Herbert, I think, is in the field. He's an Aussie. So, just some thoughts. If a lot of the guys who had their pressers said that this looks very familiar to some of the courses they played in Australia. Some of the conditions is going to be the same. So it's an idea. I like to do that. I like to put together some, those kind of joint stacks. If it's a ball striking stack, if it's an off the tee stack, if it's a short game stack, if it's an Aussie stack, of course, if it's a European stack or they're playing over in Europe, whatever it is, I will do that. All right, Stuart Sink, I mentioned, did play here back in 07. He's still got the pop in his bat. You can see past couple, 2018 at T4, and then he played last year at Kiawah at a T30. Good showing at Wells Fargo, which, if you remember right, the conditions were really rough. I think it's interesting. Valspar, tough track. So, no issues. It's whatever that putter does. Brendan Steele also came up. Again, the putting around the green's a little suspicious, but, has made the last 4 cuts. Best showing was at the Players. That's also why I kind of left him on here. If you remember right, crazy weather there. Now, I'm guessing he got the favorable AM/PM out of that. He also made the cut at Kiawah, Harding Park at a T22. So, very low ownership. He's also got a lot of distance. So, someone to look at. You got Carlos Ortiz. Threw him in here because, like I said, he got over those injuries. And since then, not playing terrible golf. And I think he could be a decent play. Now, very, low projected ownership, but for 6,600, I don't have a problem. But my guy will be Matt Jones. I already mentioned the guy, when I started to think of comparable courses, like what he did at Honda under very windy conditions. Let me go see something. He made the cut at the Arnold Palmer, which, is not great, but at least he still made the cut. Very tough course, very tough conditions. The Valero, he showed up. So he's been kind of, like I said, hit or miss. But then, Potomac did not do so well for the Wells Fargo. So let's go click on Matt Jones real fast here. So you can see he's got some pop in his bat. The driver can get a little wayward. You see Bermuda seems to be his best putting surface, but you can see he gains quite a bit against the field in heavy windy conditions. Can handle difficult, and this has been the big issue. I actually tweeted out, I don't know if this was at Arnold Palmer, I forgot now. I played him in a showdown. I think he was in some of my, and he got so frustrated on Sunday that he literally chucked his putter into the water, which I just said, well, this is not going to be good for my showdown team. And it wasn't. So he's frustrated right now with the putter. So that's the big issue. I mean, he's really good around the green, pretty good off the tee, not, off and on with the iron. So I'm going to play him a bit. And that's that. Aniban Lahiri. Of course, a lot of people, I think, are going to think of this guy because of what he did at the Players. That's why I kept him in here. He's pretty steady, right? He keeps it in the fairway. Not bad with the irons, not great, but he's pretty good around the green and putting. So you can see he does have some past PGA experience. Best showing was 2015, where he had a T5. So again, not a bad play. JJ Spawn, right? Recent winner at the Valero, which had a bit of win, right? That was Texas. Also has had a little bit of PGA experience, made both cuts. So again, I think a pretty good player you could look at down here. Bogey avoidance looks good. It's whatever the putter and around the green does. And then last but not least, Lanto Griffin, your cheapest player that I would recommend. I think he's going to be pretty chalkier than even what this has said, 5%. But because if you got to be down there, he's probably your best play. He's been playing really, solid. He's had those really good pop-up rounds, but you can see what he did at Wells Fargo under very tough conditions. The Mexican Open, not so great at TPC Craig Ranch. Let's go click on Lanto. What I want to see, yeah, so windy, maybe, funny enough, moderate. but it says windy. But he actually won in Houston, which let's go find that out. Let's go find out what was the conditions when he won at Houston. Because I don't remember. I just remember he won. All right, so there you go. Round 2 was windy as fuck and then moderate. So he won under pretty tough conditions. So do with that which you may, but I think it's also pretty interesting. All right. Let's move on and let's go look at ownership projections. Okay, so I've jumped over to the ownership projection area within Fantasy National, and I've clicked so we can just get the top guys right off the bat. Got a ton of lineups generated, so this is going to be pretty accurate data. I mean, on average, we've been getting around 6,000 lineups created. This one's giving us 15,000 lineups already created. So that Millie Maker is really pumping in. People are dumping the cash in. And with that said, which I little interesting. I mean, from what I've been hearing from other analysts out there looking at their projection stuff, that this is not exactly how I heard it baking out. But Rory, which I mentioned even from a betting perspective, is now your favorite to win. So okay, I mean, I I don't agree, but it could happen. I'm not saying he couldn't, and I'm not saying don't play him. I'm just saying he would not be my favorite. Um, so you got both these guys at 20%, Hideki and Matt. So that could be a little bit on the pricing, also how that's working out because Scotty's so expensive and Rom. I'm sure that's got a bit of it. You got Jordan Spieth at 18%. So here's all your chalkiest guys. And Lowry makes total sense. Will Z, that's a little shocking. I get it. Great ball striker, but the only time I've ever seen the guy actually do very well at putting has been when he's been on Augusta, which is bent greens, tough greens. So you could kind of correlate that together. Cam Smith, I like a lot, but as long as he keeps that driver in play. JT at 15, and then we'll start moving down. Morikawa actually is a guy that, like I said, I'm going to be fading for multiple reasons. I just haven't seen enough out of Morikawa recently, and also with that little putter change thing. Again, so it's very slight, but if it starts to go sideways, then what is he going to do? Is he going to go back to what he did? So we'll see. You got Patrick Cantlay. I like that play. Neiman, Xander, Fitzy. I think is a good spot for him. I like Young. Of course, that's my pick. You got Rom. Finau, I think this is at a higher percentage. I mean, A is at 7,900, but if you think about it, right, I mean, he can handle the wind. I don't know where he falls in. I don't think he fell. I think he's an afternoon tee time for round 1. But he can play in the wind, and he typically shows up at majors. You got Victor, of course, local, I already mentioned. Noren's quite a bit up there. Mito, so a couple of my cheapie plays are up there. Keegan was a pick. Corey Connors. Got Bobby Mack, who I think is a good play down there. Berger, I'm fading. I'll let you know. Gary Woodland, I'm fading. DJ, I'm fading. Hadwin, I'm fading. Russ Henley, I'm probably not as high on. He's still making my top 10. I'm going to play him. But with the conditions of what I've been seeing, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I really like Max on all fronts. Recent form, in the wind. I don't know if he got the AM PM though. Fleetwood, I think is a good play. HV3, no one's really talking about him. I think maybe the short game could cause some problems, but could play very well from tee to green here. Munoz, Horschel, I like. You got Burnsy, Gooch was one of my picks. Kind of moving through some of these to see anything. I think Sergio Garcia, I told you, was a long shot bet. I think that could be very interesting. I think Adam Scott is not a bad long shot bet. Let's flip this around and I want to see if anybody sticks out from very low ownership. I'm going to click on Adam Schenk for a moment. I forgot he was in the field. That's why I thought he's had some success in windy conditions. He's also putted pretty well. Ball striking was not so good. It's so funny. It's so very hit or miss, right? You see this Corrales. You see this Wells Fargo. I'm going to do one more thing here while we're here. Let's go see. I think this is his first. Yeah, this is first major. I don't know. Just kind of interesting. I have to look at what his tee times are. But Adam Schenk also as a cheapie play could be kind of interesting. All right, let's move through all these Asian Tour and all this and senior. There's Alex Sajic. Just trying to see if anybody's at like 0-1. Hudson Swafford. That's kind of interesting. Let's go click on Hudson real fast. So that kind of shocks me that he's listed at that, but I think what's going on is a lot of the stroke gain data information is not coming from where he's won. He's not a bad ball striker, and if we go look, yeah, so Corrales did not get pulled in there, and let's just see if saying calm to moderate. That's pretty shocking for Corrales. Let's go back. Sorry, Hudson. Uh, ba, 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 ba. Then Amex twice. Palmetto. Corrales again. So I think he can handle himself in a win. I'll put it out there. Hudson Swafford's not. I'm not saying. I think it's a terrible play. We'll put it that way. All right. Who else? So there's that Brendan Steele we already talked about. Richard Bland. I mean, if you want someone very steady, pretty good putter, plays a lot. Of course, plays 95% on the European Tour. I don't think he's a terrible play. Patty Harrington could be sneaky, right? Of course, he showed up. I'm surprised that has been right. I mean, he ended up third place. I think that's why he's even in this event. Also, like Ricky Fowler. So let's go take a look at this real fast. Yeah, he had a fourth place last year at Kiowa, which had quite a bit of wind. As you can see, it was moderate to windy as F. So Patty Harrington, I don't think is a terrible play either down here. There's my broke back pick that did not work out again. We just got to quit Patty Kazire. All right. Arnas has actually been playing pretty well over on the DP World Tour. If you're interested, you can look at his stats, of course, on DraftKings, but recent win and also has had some good finishes. Joel Damon, he actually had his win at Puerto Rico was pretty windy conditions. Yeah, Corrales at the Punta Cana. So also someone to think about. All right, I think that gives enough. Abraham Manser's very low. Ryan Fox, he's been playing some good golf on the DP World Tour. There's my Matty Jones. He's pretty low ownership. Cameron Champ, short game putting is a little but you need a guy to keep the ball down low off the tee. He's your guy with distance. Johnny Vegas is down here. EVR, he's withdrawn out of how many tournaments? So whoever plays that guy, and if he pops through, is going to do pretty well. Same on the front for DeChambeau, right? I have not talked about him at all because there's no way I'm touching that guy with a 10-foot pole. But I guess he's swinging pretty good. He's swinging at 185, but he is not going to make the call until Thursday morning if he's going to play or not. So if you're willing to take that risk in some lineups, there you go. All right, let's go talk weather and then get you out of here. Okay, so jumping over to Wind Finder, this is what you're going to want to use. So especially if you're new to betting on golf, all this is what guys do. They are going to leverage all information as possible, especially if you're playing Showdown. So make sure you use Wind Finder. You're going to want to pull up Broken Arrow. That's the closest location to the course. It's, I don't know, probably 5-10 minutes away. Looks pretty close. And if we want to look at the forecast, and we check out Thursday. Now, the gust is all over the place, so I'm not worried about that. What I'm more worried about is this kind of cycle right here. And, everybody knows typically the mornings are typically calmer than the afternoon. Typically in the noon to 3 o'clock time is when it really is going to start blowing. And that's what it's kind of showing here. So I'm going to go with that. And then kind of interesting, though, I mean, look at this nuts. Friday morning said it could gust up into the 50s. And so that's where the AM PM came in, where you could see, again, what this is showing. It is weather that the guys going out possibly in the afternoon on Friday are going to have it better and could have a little advantage in the morning Thursday. So that's it. That's where I'm making my calculations from on building some AM PM splits. Never, ever, ever build all your lineups, if it's 5 lineups or 50, using weather, because it's weather, right? So, but if you want to put a couple together, depending on how many you're putting, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, these guys are going to have some wind, pure and simple. Sunday will be, it says, the calmest. Saturday, you can see it's going to be up and down. But really what I'm most worried about is just get to the weekend, right? We got to get them to the weekend. And Thursday, Friday looks like to be the craziest kind of weather. And so if anything, you could just judge off of this morning, again, what they're stating. but I just stated, hey, usually mornings are the calmest, but it looks like it's going to pick up in the evening and it's going to blow all night into the morning. So there you go. That is your weather update. All right, let's jump back over. I'm going to give you my one and done and summarize my cheapie plays and then get you guys out of here. Okay, so to summarize my top 5 cheapie plays, these are the guys 7K and below. And my number 1, of course, is Mito Pereira. All these guys are going to have that AM PM that we were just talking about. They're all going to be able to handle the wind. So that is why I'm going. And also, they all been playing pretty good golf. So I got the triple threat. We got recent form. We got can handle the wind. They got the right split. Matty Jones, I'd say out of recent form, maybe a little on the downside. But he had, what, the Valero or Valspar? I forgot which one it was. He had a good showing. Of course, he won at the Honda. So, and he's an Aussie. He can handle the wind. Matty Kuchar, probably one of those plays I was not expecting to play, but again, keeps it in play, been playing good golf. He's got a pretty good tee time set, so going to stick with the Cooch. And then Norum, who I think is going to be super chalky for this kind of price. I think Mito and Norum will be your 2 most played at this price tag. But, you know, I see why on all fronts. So there you go. That's summarized. If you are looking to get some guys 7K or below, these are the guys that I recommend, plus who I already talked about in the analysis. All right, from a one and done perspective, big money, of course, is a major. This is the time you're going to use one of your big bullets if you've not used it. Some of these guys are available to me, some are not. But right off the bat, the guy that I've been thinking about for a while here is Scotty Scheffler. That is who I'm planning on using. I've already burnt Cam. I've already burnt Spieth. I still got Rory. I still got Lowry. I burnt Mats. And I still got Cantlay. This is for the Pat Mayo Big Cup, whatever challenge. So with all that said, these are the guys that I would have, recommend. And, if you've got the big guys, if you have, I've also used Rahm, could have thrown him in here, I guess. Yeah, use the big guys. This is no, not a lot more saving, right? You got what, 2 more majors and then the FedEx Cup. That's really it. So it's time to start using the big guys. All right, that's it. That's my show for the PGA Championship. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope that helps. I gave you a lot of information. I didn't have 3 shows, so I probably, I kind of took the other 2 shows to make that. So if you're new to me, I hope you like how I do things. It's a little different, right? I'm not on camera. I don't think there's right now the need to have me on camera to see another dude yakking about golf. But what I like to do is give you guys visually a ton of information, and it seems like it resonates. So thank you for tuning in. And if you like what I do, click that subscribe button. And I do this, all I do is golf. I'm not like the other analysts who cover all the sports. So hence the Golf Guru title, right? I don't tell you guys about, who I like for basketball or baseball, because all I do is golf. And so that's why I would check me out. All right, click that like button, share with anybody else. Hit me up on Twitter. If you have any questions, anything I can help you out with, hit me up on YouTube comments or Twitter, and I will respond pretty quickly. Also, it's a great community we have here. If you are new, these guys and gals are very smart, and they also give information willingly that they share with me and everybody else. So, and also, as always, if you've got something to share, please do. It just helps us all. And let's have an amazing tournament. I'm excited, as probably you are. Another major, and let's see how this all works out and see if I'm calling it right from the splits and the wind and what I think is going to be the guys that I want from a skill set. We'll see how this all works out, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.